Welcome, everyone, to the Energy Catalyst podcast. Glad to have you with us. Wherever you're listening or watching around the globe, we now have got listeners in 17 countries. It's pretty exciting. We continue to grow. So thank you for participating in this. I'm excited about today's guest. When we talk energy, there's so many angles of this. And, people sort of forget about, oh my goodness, energy is not that important until it is. So if you're sitting in the dark, you're wondering, oh, wow, what did I do? But today's guest, I'm really excited about that. But before we get started, I want to pay the bills and thank those who helped make this show possible. Our good friends over at Smart Energy Solutions, bringing the best in new technology to the marketplace to help consumers and businesses have a more efficient world, save them money, and gain as much energy as independence as possible. If you would like to learn more about the solutions, go to gosmart.energy. Our other good friends over at Taxhive, these guys are the best, absolutely love them. A Kevin O'Leary company, so Mr. Wonderful does taxes. But in all honesty, you're going to do anything that's related to renewable energy. The tax policies are changing for both residential and government, or commercial. You want to do this and get professional help. Taxes are always your largest bill. Don't DIY it. So our friends at taxhive.com, they'll take care of you. They actually will do all your returns. They make sure that you get all the proper filings. And if you think things are going to be not important with taxes anymore because of ITC, forget it. It's always going to be an issue. Okay. And then also with Energy Suite, we're excited to be working with Energy Suite through the Go Green Community Initiative. Energy Suite is taken off. We have more and more companies, solution providers, services, products that are getting Energy Suite certified. So as a consumer, when you see that Energy Suite logo, you know that you're working with vetted solutions from vetted companies, the best service providers, so you can sleep peace of mind with Energy Suite. All right, so that's all done out of the way. Excited to have our guest. I'm glad to welcome to the program Jeff Boyer. Jeff
Thanks, Rick.
is at Commonstead, and he leads the energy deregulation arm of what Commonstead's doing. And the reason I'm excited to have Jeff on the program today is because energy deregulation, it's really just in its infancy, in my opinion. I think within the next 3 to 5 years, the consumer is going to have a lot more choices, issues of grid pressure, all of those things. It's important. So this is a topic you're going to want to pay attention to, because in a lot of markets it's happening fast. You now have choice. You don't have that unconsensual relationship that when you showed up and signed up for turned on your house or your business, you only had one choice. So welcome, Jeff. Glad to have you with us today. And I'm excited to learn not only about what's going on with deregulation, but also a little bit about you.
Thank you, Rick. Thanks for making the time. Pleasure to be working with you and your company and
Yeah,
all those
fantastic.
great relationships you've got there. So my story is a very thankful, blessed one, a very humble one. My grandfather was an Irish immigrant that started an electrical contracting business. My dad took over the business, and I worked in the business going through college. I've had a great life. I bought a franchise, was number one in the world, and operated that for 20 years before I then got a chance to say, what do I want to do in my life? Right? I can do anything. I love people, and if I can find something that I like and can serve them with, that sounds like a life well lived. So I came upon energy for a couple of reasons. One is my background in the infrastructure part of it, but two is everybody is using energy, and we cannot cut it out of our budget, and it's absolutely positively going to go up in price.
Okay.
So that's a big swath of my brothers and sisters that I want to help. I remember my dad. My dad. He had this is 50 years ago. I mean, this is a long time ago. What's using energy in your homes? Back then, they got water heaters. By the way, we're spoiled rotten in the United States with all of the heating and the water heating and the air conditioning and like we got it. We're taking a lot of it for granted, but we're paying a lot for it, and it's costing us. But we've got a lot of luxuries and conveniences, right?
Yeah.
But when we leave the house and my air conditioning's still working, like, do you feel as dumb as I do? How about the hot water heater that's constantly heating up the water, these elements? I mean, literally, nobody's going to be there for 12 hours. Why are we heating the water? Who's paying for that?
Yeah.
But I do feel stupid, but only because I know it. And I
Okay.
think if we can educate some people out there, our neighbors, I think there's a lot of things, especially right now, that are technologically advancing, that can really have total efficiency and total optimization of how much you're using and consuming. You get better value, better experience of your life, right?
Yeah.
Quality of life goes up at less money,
Well,
and so that's pretty cool.
so
So
let me
go
let
ahead.
me stop you for a hot second because you're jumping into all the cool stuff, but there's even better stuff to learn. Let's roll back the calendar just a little bit, Jeff. Have you share with our audience. We got a lot of student listeners, a couple things. So where did you grow up? Where was home?
All right. So I'm a country boy. Um, a son of two wonderful parents, 7 kids. I'm the oldest of 7. I didn't know I was poor till we got to high school, and I saw people with sneakers on. So literally the milk that we drank was carnation powder. It wasn't milk. We were, but I didn't know it. I had the time of my life. I mean, we one of the things I'm glad about not having the technology. I was a great athlete. I got out into nature. And I think those things, I hope we don't lose those as we use technology to move forward. I'm wrestling with that. I've got 2 kids, 2 grandkids. And again, I love the power of it, but used unwisely, I'm concerned.
Okay.
Anyway,
So what part of the country did you grow up in? Where was home?
Pennsylvania,
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, and
Fantastic.
again, great parents, great encouragement. I work hard? I did. Did I study hard? I did. Um, do I believe that life is short? It's a gift, and you should set goals and pour yourself out? Absolutely, positively. Have I personally paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to meet the best mentors on the planet? Dr. Stephen Covey, um, uh, uh, Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, over and over and over again. Ace Tommy Hopkins, of course, in Scottsdale, Arizona, winning a trip to his home to see his $1 million art collection, right?
Oh my
So,
goodness.
so
Let me stop you there. I worked my second job out of college for Tommy Hopkins.
really beautiful.
And
Yeah,
I used to be one of I call them kids now, but I used to be one of the kids who went to businesses and gave a little bit of his material and sold tickets to have them come to the seminars. And
and
then
change
I
their lives.
and changed their lives, and I was compensated based on the amount of book sales and tape sales and all the kinds of good
Beautiful.
stuff.
Yeah.
Been to Tommy's home many times. He was great in his day, and I still think of some of his techniques like porcupine questioning and just all that kind of good stuff. So,
It works. It's desperately needed. People aren't looking for it.
yeah.
But the truths of life are not hidden. You have to look for them, discipline yourself, and then practice it, man. Be a light to the world.
Yeah,
But
and through those associations, I got to meet all those people you were just rattled off. Brian
yeah,
Tracy,
yeah,
gosh, Tony Robbins was the absolute just wet behind the ears, getting started
yeah.
kind of guy. And so, yeah, those are some very fun days. So it's neat that we have that connection. What did your formal education look like? I mean, after high school, did you go on to college at all, or what
Yep.
did that look
So,
like?
all right. So, I went to a public school out in the middle of nowhere. I got thrown out in ninth grade for fighting. So my parents put me into Catholic school in 10th grade. I got straight A's and wound up second in my class. I got accepted to pre-med and started that. Well, here's what I learned real quick. I learned that if you get a broken arm or a finger, the last guy in the room you want is me. I ain't good with it. I'm not cutting anybody open. So I had to ask myself, why did I go into pre-med? And I learned something about myself. I didn't care about people. I wanted prestige and money.
Right.
That's the wrong reason to go to pre-med. So I went into to be an attorney, sat in a
Okay.
courtroom for a month straight. Here's what I
Wow.
learned. Here's what I learned. There's a lot of people in that profession that don't give a shit about right or wrong,
Nope.
and I'm not doing it. So then I thought, well, I'll be an actor. I mean, I'm as good as Newman and all the rest of those guys. Um, and unfortunately, when I started to get into that, just the culture of acting at that time I got in was not my culture. It was not my character. So I still think I could have been, but I didn't like the people that I was getting involved with. So I thought to myself, by the way, this is why it took 6 years to get a 4 year degree. Um, all this bouncing around. I'm like, okay, you know what? Even if I was a doctor or a lawyer or an actor, I would be in business. I would be creating a value, and so like, why don't I learn about business? So I put my focus on business. I got a degree in marketing. Went to California, literally nowhere to go. Met my wife when she was 17. We've been married 40 years. I got no secret to the love, although we met, we loved each other, and you know, we're good people, make it happen. Blessed with two sons, blessed with two grandsons. And frankly, more motivated because of the wisdom and experience at how desperately good people are needed to guide what's important moving forward. And
Yeah.
again, I get energy because of that. It touches everybody.
Okay.
You know, we can't do enough quick enough, frankly, which is why we're trying to get the message out to everybody.
So one last thing real quick, just looking back, okay? Did you have any pivotal moments that really stand out, just, thinking of who Jeff Boyer is this very moment, that made a quick little pivot point? I mean, I can remember like this moment of clarity, sitting in the business school lounge after in the college after a accounting test and questioning what the heck was I doing. So was there any, looking back, any just real quick like data points that said, you know what, this was, you expressed the attorney thing, you expressed the actors thing, but in your education point, real quick, and then we'll get up to today. Was there any point that said an aha moment back then?
One of the things again that I appreciate about the old days, the only reason we went to college is because we couldn't be doing what we're doing now.
Right.
So I actually had to go and pay for an apartment and a car and get to the professors and buy my books and sit there on time and take notes with people around me, some similarly minded, some not. And also, there was only so many options, which they mandated you take, so I found myself gifted in social sciences and people, right?
Hmm.
In love, frankly, in all of these disciplines, if there's no love in the human being that recognizes how short his light is being in there. So for me, it's God first, and then wherever He directs, I'm committed.
Okay. Fantastic. Thanks for sharing. I mean, again, it's not just about the topics we do every day to run our lives today. It's about the people. So, when did you get into deregulation, and when did this become a passion and focus for you?
So after I had run the East Coast with this other franchise, I found myself still very young, 40-ish, and in saying, okay, and again, these are good moments, the moments where you say, what am I going to do with my life? I mean, you should repeat that good experience every day. What am I going to do with my life? Should I be doing this? Am I doing what I want to be doing? Should be doing, and am I doing it to the best of my ability? Because if you don't get that, I don't think you have any joy in your life. You understand? I'm selfishly doing my best because it fulfills my potential. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like a duty to have fun doing your best. Um, again, I found myself looking at a lot of options. I met a gentleman named Charles Thompson in Los Angeles, and Charles and I we're about the same age, same experience level, and looking out the future, and both thought energy. So we started a company called Certified Energy Consultants, and we were focusing on consumption reduction products and services. So like I said, put a timer on your water heater, put an electronic thermostat, so when nobody's home, you're not air conditioning the home for no reason. Put in LED light bulbs, put in optimizers, so that your home or your business is being run more efficiently, your equipment is lasting longer, and it's costing you less. All of that to us just made sense. Now, again, I got to tell you, I think the salespeople, the contact with the clients, are the most valuable people on the planet.
Right.
The technology pales in comparison to a human being talking to another human being about something that can really benefit them. And they trust them enough to say, please go ahead and thank you so much. You see, that's why I've shaped my skill set there. That's the most important thing. Are these electronic things cool? Absolutely. I mean, we had stuff you put in commercial refrigerators in restaurants that would absorb all of the moisture inside the cooler, making the food fresher and reducing the cost to the restaurants. There's a lot of cool stuff out there.
Yeah.
Nobody knows them. So our company was one of the first to be everything energy. If we touch you as a client, here's our expert recommendations. Let's start with the easiest ones that give us the most return on investment, and let's continue to use those savings until we are optimized. Perfect.
So what year was that
Oh
when
my
you started?
goodness. Well, 25 years ago. I'd have to look at the
Okay.
I'd have to look at the actual dates, Rex, but
All right.
25 years
Well,
ago.
we'll call it 25 years ago. Okay.
So here's what happened. We're building a national distributorship. And I get a call from who now is a friend in Philly. And he calls and says, hey, Jeff, I see where your company's going. What are you doing about the energy that the clients still have to pay for? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, well, some states are starting to deregulate. And 20 years ago they did.
Right.
So let me stop right there and say, anytime that there's a product or service that people want or need, and there's only one place to get it, that's the definition of a monopoly. And when people start recognizing that as unfair, they get together with the legislature and they say, hey, wait a minute. I know you have to deliver me my electricity through the infrastructure or my gas through the pipes, but why can't I get my energy from XYZ company who says they'll sell it to me for less?
Right.
So 20 years ago, people through their legislatures started to deregulate their states. Now the utility will always deliver the energy, maintain the infrastructure, and bill the client. But now where they get their energy, how much they pay for it, if there's any percentage that's green or renewable, and if there's any other benefits, that's the client's option. Most people have no idea about it. There's only about 26, 27 states that are deregulated. Some are only partially deregulated, but I agree with you, Rex. The future is going to be total deregulation, total transparency about what energy is, where it comes from, and people are going to make choices just like they do with their damn cell phones.
Yeah. So let's dive into that a little bit if you could. 26, 27 states. How many of those roughly are deregulated for gas? How many of those are deregulated for electricity? And then also, which sides of the solutions? Are they residential, commercial, or both? So if you could help us
Yeah.
understand what that looks like currently today, 2025.
All right. Good question. A little bit more. The answer is more complicated than you might have imagined, only because each state and their legislature decides with their utilities what's going to be deregulated, how it's going to be deregulated, and what companies are going to be able to be allowed to service those markets. So it's almost like I'm in Pennsylvania and in California, they're deregulated, but Pennsylvania is deregulated for gas and electric, residential and commercial. So it's dual fuel. And for my company and where we try to focus, we try to focus where the low hanging fruit is. Where, you know what I mean? Where everybody is using gas and electric, and both of those can be products we can help them benefit from. But California, as an example, is deregulated for large gas. Florida, large gas. So some are deregulated for one commodity, gas or electric. Others both, and others segment on the size of the business. California does large gas, but they do it by a lottery. Once a year, the businesses literally say, we'd like to be able to shop. State of California does a lottery and gives those people the option. So there's a lot of regulatory. The good news for the people we serve is we've been doing it for so long and have so much technological expertise that show me the market, I'll show you what's available and what the options are for those clients.
Okay. So, which has happened faster? Just a question that comes in my mind. Has it been electricity deregulation, gas?
Yeah.
Has it been
Yeah.
parallel? What's that look like?
Yeah, no, electricity for sure. Everybody's got that. Gas, there's some, my parents' home and my home, I don't have any gas, right? So it's all electric. That'll change your electric bills, by the way. All electric heat is more expensive. So, but in areas where they have gas for cooking and then sometimes for heating and definitely for manufacturing. So that depends again on the infrastructure. By the way, the infrastructure in the United States is over 100 years old, desperately in need of being totally replaced and protected. We're so vulnerable in so many ways. And the cost of that rebuilding will be borne on the backs of the people that pay it in their kilowatts. And that's why we've got to be smart in how we where we get it, how we consume it, and how we protect ourselves.
Yeah, it's, you and I have talked before offline. When you talk about the whole energy conversation, you know, I pitched this just because it was the concept that brought forth in one of the books is three pillars of energy, conservation, efficiency, and then generation. But the very first question, because in some states it's even against the law to disconnect from the utility companies, the first question that someone should ask is, where am I getting my electricity or my gas? What are my options? And as a consultant, that's probably the first place that you do, obviously, because that's how you can help. So, how are you received when you ask that question? Where do you get your supply?
I will tell you that I find wonderful, innocent people who have no idea what's going on. They're paying an energy bill. But by the way, I remember in my grandfather's business, the utility bill, it came in a blue envelope. They still come in a blue envelope. This utility literally has been here 100 years in Pennsylvania. Same envelope. So people that pay energy bills get the envelope, pay the bill, turn the lights on. They don't even know how to read the bill, Rex.
Right.
And in some cases, intentionally complicated. So all they do is pay it. They don't, 65% of them don't even know that there's an option that they have or what their options are. That's why our company is growing so quickly, is we educate them through the benefit of them. Like what's not to like, right? Most people don't even know how energy is created. 80% of the energy we consume is fossil fuel based.
Yeah.
We dig up ancient plants and dinosaurs that have decomposed in the Earth's crust, and we dig that up as coal, oil, shale, and gas. And you know what we do with it? We burn it. It's just a great fuel. You know what we do after we burn it? We boil water. You know what happens when you boil water? It creates steam. We use steam, we constrict the steam pipe, and we use high pressure steam to turn a turbine. So it's the turning of a turbine that sends electrons down into the grid. When you see a windmill, it's the wind that's turning the turbine. When you see hydroelectric, it's the water that's turning the turbine. Even nuclear, you put a uranium rod in water, 2,000 degrees in 2 seconds, boil the water, constrict the steam pipe. Like nobody knows that. And frankly, nobody cares. We want to turn the lights on and the lights go on.
That's right.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But the problem is fossil fuels is non-renewable. The more of it we use, the less of it there is. The less of it there is, the more it's going to cost. Plus, we got to add the infrastructure. Plus, there's more people coming on board. Plus, AI is going to demand double the capacity. So this is the human situation that desperately needs people to focus with an expertise on energy procurement, efficiency, and cost.
So,
Critical.
I don't know. I guess the question would be, if you were to take a guess, just from your experience in the markets you're working, what percentage of people even know that they have a choice?
Uh, I, I less than 10%.
Less than 10%.
Statistically, 65% have done nothing.
Right.
What that means is, look, if somebody doesn't exercise their option in a deregulated market, the utility doesn't shut their energy off. They flow it at and what's a marketplace, which is an average variable rate. Average meaning they could have got a better rate and save money. Variable meaning they've got no protection and they're going to go up the market. So 65% who have done nothing are still with the utility, still paying their bill. They don't know they got better options.
Right.
Unfortunately, almost the 35% that did, they chose a particular company. See, our company doesn't work for the utility or doesn't work for any of the energy supply companies that are licensed in that footprint. We work for our client. We have all of those energy supply companies compete for our client's business in real time on a live portal. We show that to the client. If there's rates that are lower than they're paying now, it's literally their money in the bank this month. Then if there's a term that can protect them from it going up, which is absolutely is positively going to go up, I always recommend as long as we can protect it. More importantly, we have active ongoing energy management, which means we watch it for them. They focus on their business. We help them keep their hard-earned money to the bottom line. It's an area of expertise they should outsource. The fact that it doesn't cost them anything, should make it easy for the consultant to say, do you mind if I take a look? If you're in a good spot, I'll confirm it. If we can put you in a better spot, that's what we're great at. You get your bills online, you get them in the mail, let me see. We've got a lot of great trainings for that, but it's really that simple. It's community outreach and education.
So,
That's what it is.
in your experience in doing this, how frequently can you find savings for the customer?
That's a good question. It depends on, um, again, different states, different rates, and different escalating prices. Massachusetts went up 25-40%. Pennsylvania, and again, I try to keep my eyes on where it's going up. So, and we keep those materials that are shared with the community. I mean, they're literally public utility commission mandated announcements.
Mm-hmm.
You walk into a business and say, "Did you see the news? Can I see your bill?" And then again, one of the things I like about it is the transparency. I like to be. It's important for me to be authentic, honest, and transparent. I want the people that I touch to trust me. And so, like, energy is a true commodity. It's traded on the open market, which means its price is constantly changing. When we actually do the shopping, the prices from each energy supply company are loaded at 9 o'clock New York Stock Exchange time, and they are perishable by 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So that's how volatile they are. Any agreements we give to a client today, if they don't exercise by 5 o'clock, all bets are off. Tomorrow we're going to have to refresh it because there's so many things happening in the world: Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Hamas, China, Taiwan, fires in California and in Hawaii, floods in Texas, Louisiana. All of that affects the price of energy. All of it. What goes on in the political world, in the solar world, and the investment tax credits, all of that is constantly affecting the price of energy. That's why getting the best rate you can right now is smart. Locking it in for as long as you can is smart. And having somebody with expertise to watch it is even smarter. That's what we do.
So I guess drilling down on that a little further, from an uneducated consumer that I am when it comes to deregulation, is it literally as volatile as the fact that, okay, let's say, war breaks out or a pipeline has been destroyed, that my rates can be impacted within days or months of that happening if I'm not
Yep.
in a
Yep.
situation
So,
environment?
in our classes and our training, Rex, which I'm happy to, extend to your audience at no cost. The the truth is that in fact, people are paying their energy bills. They have no idea that there is even options or what they are, and people are afraid to be honest with themselves and say, "I'm afraid, and I don't really know my options, and I don't know who to trust."
Right.
So when I started 20 years ago, I actually worked with an individual energy supply company. Matter of fact, my state wasn't even deregulated, Pennsylvania. I had to drive down to Maryland and Washington, D.C. so that I could start talking to clients. That was the first deregulated states.
Right.
Um, I worked for Washington Gas Energy Services. I went in, I said, "Hey, my name is Jeff. I'm a local energy broker. You probably heard you're now deregulated. That means you got some options. Let me see a copy of your bills. So let me make some recommendations." By the way, the presentation is as simple today as it was back then. By the way, if you believe in what you're proposing to help somebody, if you really believe it, the presentation will be very short, very direct, and they'll get it.
Right.
I sometimes think we talk way too much, you know, and I don't think people need it. They need to trust somebody to say, I think I can help. Give me a chance to prove it. Let me see your electric bills." And so they got me their bills, and I said, "Okay, here's what we can do." And I signed up two businesses a day, 10 a week. This is 20 years ago. Made six figures plus for my family. Did it 6 months straight before I ever hired or trained anybody else to do it. Before I started ramping up the business, right? Um, so, but here's what I learned. I did honorable work, but I did it on behalf of Washington Gas Energy Services. So Washington Gas Energy Services wanted the business, so they made a competitive rate. They locked it in for a year, and my client said, "Yes, thank you, Jeff." But here's what I learned, and here's what my clients learned. What happens after the end of that year? When the term ends, and Washington Gas Energy Services that went in business to make money, when they are no longer legally required to protect that rate, they continue to flow the energy, increase the rate, and make profit for the company.
Right.
The client is not even looking at their damn bill.
Nope. They just think it's going up.
And as a matter of fact, that's one of the things we deal with as we go out into the market and tell people that. They say, "I got screwed last time. I'll stay with the utility." I believe you got screwed, but not intentionally. And by the way, not illegally. They gave you a good rate for this long. Now, you just didn't have any active ongoing energy management, and you didn't know you had any other options, and you didn't know that we do that at no cost for you, right?
Fantastic. So that volatility in the marketplace, obviously, it's probably a very easy statement and forecast say that's going to get even worse as scarcity becomes an issue. I mean,
Positively.
certain uncertainty. I have a great relationship with Dr. Jane Curry, and or Judith Curry. Where's my brain today? And she consults with a lot of the large power companies, and she really expresses to people about a really deep level of uncertainty. And she's a scientist. She doesn't have any dog in the hunt. She's not a policy hack or, she's not leaning one way or the other about stuff. And she just, I talk to her on a regular basis, and the uncertainty is so big out there right now. People don't realize how close we are to tipping points on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah,
And
I think
so,
that's intentional too, Rick. But
yeah.
the experts who know what's going on, and by the way, you don't have to be too expert to see the writing on the wall. We've
Mhm.
got a population that's increasing. We've got 25% of the world, Earth's population, that doesn't have running water and electricity, that the world's trying to build in there. That's going to use more energy. AI literally is going to double the demand, and the infrastructure's got to rebuild. I mean, you don't need to have a college degree. By the way, is anything else going down? I mean, the the Energy Information Association did a study from 1990 to 2020, 30 years. You guys can look it up yourself. It's open source of where energy rates have gone in kilowatt hours over those 30 years. The trend line is up and to the right, 13.5% a year on average. The predictions are, quite frankly, um, very concerning. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, and you talk to experts again. I have connections at Department of Energy, all the places. Even if we were to start from scratch to upgrade the grid to current technology, the estimates are 30, 35, 40 years if that's all they did full time right now. And the
Yes,
electrification of so many things. I talk to friends and I say, when did you first see your first electric lawnmower? Oh,
crazy, right?
just a few years ago. Well, electric lawnmowers now outsell gas-powered lawnmowers.
Wow.
Yeah, and so you start to see these things that are happening so fast and trending. And the
Yes.
electrification of things are happening so much. And, one crazy thing a lot of people don't stop and think about, a minuscule little thing, but these universal battery hand tools we all have. So our clippers, our drills, our screwdrivers, our saws,
Yep.
you got one battery, runs everything. So
Yep.
why not electrify everything? Okay.
It makes sense.
What makes sense? I mean, I can remember how long it took me to get, I mean, this is dating me. I can remember using a hand crank drill, with just a
Oh my
little
God,
hand
I
crank
can
drill.
too. Yeah, I can. I can
Yeah.
remember my. Yeah, I
And then it
remember.
was the biggest thing in the world that we had, an electric drill. And it
We're
was
spoiled rotten,
clunky.
Rex.
Yeah.
We're
And you,
spoiled. We're spoiled rotten.
and
And you
remember,
and me at least have that distance to see it. But my kids and grandkids, they think it's just normal to
yeah.
have access to everything. You know what I
I,
mean?
my son is a technician who works for Caterpillar, and he has all the most amazing tools and stuff. And when I explained to him what a chuck is for an electric
Ah,
drill, and how my
yeah,
dad used to be furious because we would always lose the chuck key, and
yeah,
and stuff, people don't even think about that. So it's one of those things they talk about all the time. Yes, we're spoiled. We walk over, in the Western world, we walk over to the light switch, we flip it on, we don't even think about the entire process that it got there, those types of things. But everything's being more and more being electrified. And so
yes,
the demand is great. So what do you think the future looks like over here? Over, let's say, I mean, if either of us had a crystal ball that could look 5 years down the road and be
yep,
accurate, we would
yep.
be doing lots of crazy things. But all right, let's give it our
Here,
best.
here,
Let's give it our best guess. What do you think it's going to look like for deregulation over the next 5 years?
yep. Here's what I think. Hope and believe is working towards. My parents are still alive, and I see how difficult it is at 86 to do the simple things again that we take for granted. Like we're at least using the technology on the phone. Mom can't even see the damn thing anymore. So I see the need for a population to have more technologically advanced automation, right? We see that in AI and robotics. But my mom should be able to say, get up in the morning and say, turn on the coffee, please turn on the kitchen lights, put my favorite TV show on, call my son Jeff, uh, put the temperature here, and the infrastructure should be able to take care of my mom and dad at a lot less, cost to them, right? That's going to take more energy and a little bit more technology, by the way.
Right.
Will it be good for humanity? Yeah. Um, a lot of people are going to be moving to independence, off grid. This concern we mentioned earlier is driving a lot of mini homes, standalone, solar power backup. Well, I don't care what happens in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got my favorite books. I'm good. So, but I see the demand on the grid increasing energy rates, stress on businesses and people. It's already there more than ever before. More people are behind businesses on their energy bills than ever before in history. The COVID didn't help, but the energy costs are not. I mean, they got to build that in to their product or service, and so it's increasing the cost of what we're paying for, right? Uh, I see solar. I see nuclear coming back for sure.
Hmm.
Hopefully a little bit more protected and less risk, but it's definitely needed. Um, High hopes for nuclear fusion.
Yes.
Nuclear fission is the splitting of atoms, like the nuclear bomb. Fusion is the combining of them. And twice last year in Lawrence Livermore Laboratories in California, the scientists were able to generate an event that created more energy than it took to produce. Twice. Great promise for humanity. However, the technology and the safety of that might not be in our lifetime, and it would be great. But so I believe in humanity's ability to be very creative and solve our problems in the short term. We got to generate, consume, and pay for the energy.
Yeah.
We should be as smart as that with that as we can, and I think the future generations, my sons, my grandsons, and beyond, are going to deal with how good we've been at that or not. You
Yeah.
understand?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think everybody's in agreement. And the question that comes to my mind as a consumer, I put my consumer hat on, covering this bald head. Um, how long does it take a state to get to a situation like a Pennsylvania, where policies change, where you have both? I mean, is it a lengthy process for states to get there?
You know what? You're probably as familiar with me as to the ongoing politics of the world, right? I
Sure.
mean, and you know, one administration wants deregulation and cut everything out and let the horses out of the barn. Business owners like that.
Right.
Um, there is something to be said about, hey man, you think we should look at it and make sure it works for all of us? I'm okay with that, but that's beyond the clients we serve or what we focus on, right? That's people, that's politics, that's and but you get an environment of people that say, hey, we want it, we'll vote for it this September. Get it on the damn ballot and let people vote for it, be regulated. By the way, there's a lot of big energy supply companies that are lobbying all these states with big money. Please let us get in there and serve these people. They want it. There's politics and there's money and backdoor deals is the only reason it's not already more open.
So is it a 2 to 3 year process? I mean, or is it just completely unpredictable? I mean, again, we've got 26, 27 states that are there. Um,
Mark, I mean, Rex, it is literally depending on the state and the atmosphere of the voting public. Deregulation is just a choice that the utility now the utility companies. So, and this is one of the things that slowed them down. So, like in there's some utility companies that are like they're run like they were run 3 generations ago.
right,
And I mean, they're probably still doing stuff at some utility companies in paper, not even computers yet, right?
right.
Um, that scares the utility company that's going to have to revamp their ability to work with a lot of different energy supply companies, build different companies, put different names on different buildings. I mean, the stuff that you may take for granted is like normal. That takes some infrastructure preparation. Again, though, I don't know that for what utilities and what states and what that environment is. And are they saying, yeah, but not natural gas because we generate natural gas here, and so we don't want to do that? I mean, there's so many different variables. It would be tough to give you an answer that would be suitable, I think.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, we are living in a country that's very divided on so many issues.
Yeah,
Energy has become so politicized in so many things. And rightfully so in things because we need to have access to it. I subscribe to the whole concept that, you know what, we're going to have to use all of these sources of energy. Um,
no doubt about it.
in a recent book I put out, I think all roads lead to hydrogen. Hydrogen is the most universal element in the universe. It's what fuels the sun. And there's a lot of things going on right now with hydrogen fuel, combustion engines and those things. And so
Cool.
I'm confident that man's going to get there,
Yeah,
but we're going to have to figure out a roadmap for all of this. And, if we were all living in unicorns, apple pie, and motherhood, energy would be free, but that's never going to happen.
yeah.
And so we just need to be present on where to be looking for resources, updates, information, some of that stuff. And so what I'm doing for the listeners in the links of the show, I'm going to put the resources where they can go to get information, get in touch with you, learn more about what's going on in the energy space. And then I have two books that I think that people might want to take a gander. And if nothing else, maybe it'll put you to sleep at night if you're restless. One's called Gridlock, and that is just a book to talk about the crisis that we're in as far as delivery. Okay. And then the other one is Deregulation, Unlocking the Potential of Power. And that one I also, these are available on the website, and the links are in the bottom. That just talks about some of the trends and stuff that are going on in the industry right now and what we see. It's hard to be the person who's prognosticating what the future looks like. However, it's a topic we need to all be paying attention to. It's very, very important. And so I really appreciate you coming on today with us and talking
My
about
pleasure.
deregulation. I know when I have questions about it, you're one of the first people I call and talk to because you live it every day of the week. You are also helping consumers and commercial customers get better rates and saving money. So I'm going to wrap up what we do on all the episodes. I have one last question for you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So years ago on another podcast, I interviewed this guy, and he was called the bucket list guy. And his whole entered thing was out talking to people about their bucket lists and stuff. Well, there's an opposite to everything in the universe, right? Yin, yang, things like that, plus, minus. Well, if there's a bucket list, there's another list out there that rhymes with bucket, starts with an F, but this is a family show. We call it the F it list. All right. So, and I always catch people left-handed on this because it's intentional, is what might be something, whether it's an activity, a thing, whatever, that would be on Jeff Boyer's F it list?
I struggle with wasting time. Um, you know, I really do this. I find if you believe that you got a gift of life and that it's here today and gone tomorrow, and if you really set goals and go for them, you'll find you don't have any extra time.
Yeah.
So I say F it to everything that doesn't get me closer to the things that are important to me. It's easy for me to say no to a lot of things.
Yeah, that's good. That's a great answer. We've had, and if you go back to all the episodes I've done with the different podcasts, we've had some incredibly funny answers to
Yeah,
that, just
it's
and
a
stuff.
challenging question, no doubt.
Yeah, because most people don't think about that. Yeah, okay, I have these dreams or these aspirations or something I've always thought about doing it, but then nobody ever asks you, it's like, what the hell do you never want to do?
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway. Well,
Thank you.
thank you for coming on. I appreciate the investment of your time, sharing your story, helping people understand the importance of that. And so, of course, folks, as you listen in and in the podcast and in the video, links are in the bottom to get more information about deregulation, resources, and then information about Jeff there. We have links to some of his profiles and those types of things. And so I will close out by reminding you, don't forget to subscribe if you're on the video platforms, and then also click to get the notifications. And I'll say what I say all the time. Thanks, and make it a great day, because if you do, tomorrow can be even better. Thanks.
Thank you, Rex.